Alright, so I'm back, and today we're going to do another repair bay, and this is going to be the nightmare that is the hip fix for gutter. This is something that only if you know what you're doing I recommend doing, because this thing, if you do something wrong here, this thing will fall apart on you and you'll never get it back together, ever, because of how they have it designed. And that's not technically their fault on that, on how they designed it. It is their fault because the rumor is the factory didn't put long enough screws, so you have to go in and tighten the screws before they break. Now, the big problem with that is that do not pay attention to what your boys are doing in the factory for your first release of a figure. I mean, I would be kind of hounding them and watching over their shoulders, making sure every little detail, especially on the first release, is perfect. Because if that hadn't happened, this would be a perfect figure, in my opinion. I have decided to sell it, so I'm going to be selling this guy on eBay or Facebook here pretty quick. Because I've decided that I'm not going to risk, moving forward with gigapower. I'm going to go with Fans Toys because they're almost done and they're going to be done soon. And we all know they will finish their set. It's kind of up in the air on if this company's going to continue or not. So that's my one worry about this figure is just, will it finish? And I don't know if it will or not. I can't sit here and say that it will. Alright, so what you want to do is, first off, open up the chest panel here. So you move the head down and close up the chest panel. So you can take this piece here, and this will rotate all the way forward like so. That allows you access to these screws in the back. So you want to start on the top of the body. It's so easy to want to go right here, but you cannot get to everything from there. So, taking the screwdriver, and this is the same one I used for Apollyon. So you just want to undo the screws. And when I undo the screws, I try and leave them in the slots. That way I don't have that chance of losing the screws. So just taking them out. There we go. It's a lot of work to tighten a screw. So, that's the something that really bugs me on this is how much work do we have to do to repair this figure? This $200 figure that, all they would have had to do is put the right screws in for the hips. At least that's the rumor. Who knows if that's true? Maybe they did. Maybe they were watching and just didn't think about it. Alright, you want to close the tail up, and then there's two more screws on these sides. At least they didn't glue the chest together. It's hard to do this on camera because the way I usually unscrew is just by, using this little swivel on the back of the screwdriver. Well, it's kind of hard to show off. It's kind of a weird angle on camera. I'm already in this video longer than the Megatron shoulder fix. Alright, so we want to pull the chest panel here up. Let's see here. This will slide off like so. And of course the arm falls off. So you set these things off to the side, try and keep them in order. Same thing on this side. Pull that off. Okay. Now we want to take this back section off. Okay, so that comes off. And then these little panels here, they come off. Alright. So there is the first part done. Alright. Now, the next thing you want to do is get this piece apart. The only way to get this piece apart is to get this piece apart. So you actually have to take this gray piece and take this thing apart. So... Alright, so now we can take this gray piece apart here. Alright, so now we have that piece apart. You can see that this is why I'm saying you know, you got to be cautious, you know, when you're taking this guy apart. You know, you have to know what you're doing. If you're not 100%, don't do it. And just be careful with the legs. It is almost to the point of they really should have, you know, I think what they should have done was say, we're sorry, we messed up. Please send your figures back to the retailer. We're sending out new versions of them, and then they could use the original versions, repair them, and then send those out. So they would only have to do a small batch. Alright, so we take this section here off. And now we're at the hip section, where, you know, when you just look at the figure, you're like, oh, it's got screws. I could just take it off from right there. You can't. Because these hip sections are attached to this piece right here. So if you don't do it in the right order, it's going to fall apart. Or it's not going to fall apart like it should. This section here off, and so you get this far without taking it all apart, but you still can't get in there to get the hips. So then now you have to take this section apart. Alright, now this is the part where you have to be really careful, because inside here are the ratchets for the hips. If you pull this thing out really haphazardly, you're going to lose the springs. So be very careful. That was by far the most tedious part for me. It was just trying to get those springs back in. And there goes the springs. Alright. Oh, there's the springs. And then there's, let's see, I need 2 screws. And then there's the actual ratchets themselves. So we gotta find all those parts here. There's that. Screw 1. And screw 2. Cool. It didn't completely fall apart. Alright, now. And here's what we did all of that for. Go in here and just, you can see how there is that gap right there. That's what makes your hips a little loose. And that's what's going to break. And I already tightened these once, so that kind of leaves me a little concerned as well. Because I've tightened these things once, and now they're loose again. So tighten that up again. Nice and tight. The same thing over here. And there you go. All of that work for that. Doesn't leave me too pleased with this company. Alright, now, and you see, I mean, he's just in shambles all over the place. We could say the Hulk did it. Hulk did it. He won. Anyway, back to topic. So now we want to put everything back together. So this is where things get a little difficult, because you got to get this spring and you want to put it back onto the ratchet, and you got to put one in each of these little slots right there. And I've got not the best fingers for this. So use another screwdriver here. I'm just going to push it right into place. There's nothing that locks them into place. It just kind of holds into place. Drop the spring. There you go. Alright, so you get this spring, and of course it's got all this grease for the joints all over it, so everything just sticks together. And it's kind of a goopy mess. Alright. So we got that back in there. Now when you put this, now I'm going to tell you a mistake I made. So not to do. When you put this thing back together here, until you get the outer assembly put back on, do not rotate those hips, because they will pull this ratchet out and you will have to undo the whole thing and start over. So do not rotate the hips. Oh. And then these two things actually fit together like so before you can put them together. So like so. Take this piece, this back on. go. Dropping all my shit here. Where did it go this time? There we go. Alright. As you can see, this is not a fun project. Another reason why I'm not too afraid that, or upset that I'm selling him, is, like I said, I've already done the hit fix once. I don't want to have to do this again. I don't know if maybe there was a replacement part that they were supposed to send out that I never got with mine, but yeah, I don't know. I just don't know. It's a great looking figure. It's just, if they would have fixed that, and then also, you know, if we had some sort of confirmation that they're going to continue as a company, you know, I want to see prototypes. I want to see pre-orders. I mean, there's no you know, this thing's been out since what? I don't even know. It's been out for months. And there's still no pre-orders up for the next figure. That leaves me concerned. Fans Toys seems to be speeding up their process as they're making more money. And this figure really could have been one of the best Dinobot set, hands down, because of how awesome this figure really is on the surface. Alright, now we want to reassemble this piece. Put that on. Put that on. And like I said, I left the screws in the holes, so it's a lot easier to just put it back together. Alright. There is that. Next piece is this gray assembly. So, take this. This will slide on like so. Camera up just a bit. Now this one gets a little difficult because you got to make sure these ports all plug in to the appropriate pieces. So, when you line it up, just kind of... Oh, that went right together this time. Last time I had to sit there and swivel things and rotate things to make sure that they're lining up properly. Just like so. Everything can lock back down like so. Just gotta keep it all out of the way from the back and front assemblies. Alright. Now we want to take this piece here. This will slide on like so. We also need to get these little red pieces here in there as well. So they go like this, I believe. So these things will slide in like this, like that. And then when you put the back assembly on, it'll fill that gap up a little bit more. What we should actually do we're gonna take the back piece here and put this on first. I'm gonna take these pieces and slide these into place because so only a certain way they'll fit in there, and that's just like that. Wait, no. I'm having a hard time remembering which piece goes where. So I had it right the first time. We do the same thing over here. Right. Yeah, that's right, I guess. Alright. So now we got that piece back together. Whew. Now this piece will come back together, and then you want to put the arm back in, just like so. Make sure that this thing still will pull out, so that we know that we're putting the arm back in right. Slide that up, push together, and we quickly screw this screw back together here. There we go. Alright. Now we'll kind of hold it together until we can open up the tail fins. Like this. Like this. Open that up. Now we can tighten all the other screws. And then we undo this, flip this back around, take this, flip up the head, and there you go, fixed. So yeah, overall, it is one hell of a repair job. This thing, I mean, you really need to know what you're doing. Almost need an engineering degree. I mean, it is such a pain in the ass to do. All just tighten one little screw. It's major pain in the ass. I don't recommend doing it unless you absolutely have. If your hips are really bad, then you got to do it. Hopefully, unlike mine, yours holds together, because like I said, I already did the hit fix once. Now I had to do it again. So yeah, I don't know. Just be careful. And yeah, make sure you have a nice clean workstation like I do, so that you can see all the parts when you take them apart. But yeah, there you go. The gigapower gutter hit fix.